Hi friends, welcome back or welcome if you're new and welcome to the very last Bookmas vlog. I cannot believe that the season is over. I can't believe we're at the very end of December as well. So seeing as we're at the tail end of 2025, I thought it would be fitting to do the end of year reading tag. I took these questions from Destiny Sidwell. I'm pretty sure she is the originator of this tag and these questions in particular because I do know that there's another end of year reading tag by Ariel Bissett, but we're not doing that one. We're doing this one. And these questions are built so we can go back and reflect on my year of reading, talk about some books that I otherwise never talked about, and do a general reading wrap up. Before we start, let me take a sip of my water. Actually, I don't have a fun drink. I just have water in here. But it's good to be hydrated. It's actually quite hot today too. I was gonna wear a sweater and I couldn't wear the sweater. So wearing this red tank top, I think it's quite festive anyways. The very first question is most disappointing read of the year, and I actually have a couple of books to get into. So this first book is one I'm a little bit nervous about, and it is The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong. This was a really big anticipated release for me. I was so excited for it. I had loved this author's previous novel, On Earth for Briefly Gorgeous, and I think his writing is beautiful, heart-wrenching, so raw, but this one just didn't do it for me, and I didn't find none of those qualities that I usually like in his writing in this one. It honestly felt really commercial, really watered down. I just didn't care for it. I didn't care for none of the characters. I didn't care for the setting of this novel, which was mainly in a fast food type of restaurant. I just didn't like anything of this book, and I was really, really sad about it because it was a pretty big anticipated release for me, but it just fell flat. Another pretty big disappointment was The Starving Saints. I really couldn't tell you what the heck happened in this book, but I remember the pacing being off, the characters inconsistent, and worst of all, the magic system made absolutely no sense. At one point, a character comes back to life with like no explanation, and I'm quite sad about this one because even though I read this at the beginning of the year, so it was before my fantasy era, this does feature a lady knight and it's set in medieval times. It is a medieval horror. It just didn't go anywhere for me. It was really, really disappointing for me. Another disappointment was Hungerstone. I know, a lot of people love this book, but for Carmilla retelling, I found it lacking in that department. Carmilla literally disappears like halfway through the novel, and instead this turns into a female rage type of story. I'm up to here with female rage stories. I'm honestly quite bored with the trope. Maybe the biggest disappointment for me in 2025 was the very first book that I read in the year, Life Form by Jenny Slate. This was my first read of 2025, and I picked this up because in the previous year, 2024, I had picked up Jenny Slate's Little Weird as my first read of that year, and I absolutely loved that book. So good. I might reread it in 2026, but Life Form in comparison was lacking that whimsy. It was lacking creativity. I didn't find anything that I loved in Little Weirds in Life Form, and it honestly felt like she was contracted to write a second book and she had literally no inspiration. In fact, she talks about having no inspiration in Life Form. It just didn't feel like the same Jenny Slate that wrote Little Weird. And then to wrap up my hater moment in rapid fire succession, some other books that were really disappointing for me were We Could Be Rats, Orbital, The Unworthy, and We Used to Live Here. The next question is Underdog Book of the Year. So this is a book that I wasn't expecting to like, and I'm gonna give it to In the Veins of the Drowning. This was the romantasy book that got me into romantasy in the first place, and the reason it surprised me so is because I didn't think that I could be into the genre. I just basically didn't think the genre could be for me. I'm not gonna lie, I had some preconceived notions about the genre, and it was just purely out of ignorance. But at the time that I picked this up, I was definitely curious, and I was in a particular mood for this type of story. And you know what? This curiosity came from Summer Ween because I read An Education in Malice, dark academia fantasy book, Carmilla retelling, and I really wanted something similar, like a dark fantasy, maybe something paranormal, supernatural, like, mythical creatures. And it brought me to In the Veins of the Drowning because this features a FMC who's a siren. So that really caught my attention because I like mermaids, I like sirens. So like I've established, our FMC in The Veins of the Drowning is a siren. And she's been in hiding for many, many years. But when her cover is blown in desperation for safety, she performs a blood bond with Theodore, our MMC. I remember it being a good time. I love the dark imagery of this world. I found the magic system to be quite easy to get into and quite unique. It got me into gothic fantasies and more specifically medieval fantasies. So I really appreciate this book for what it gave me in the rest of the year. This next question is a book that was overhyped for you. And again, I'm mentioning The Emperor of Gladness. It was understandably a really highly anticipated release for a lot of people. Heck, I was excited. I saw interviews with Ocean Wong. I thought he was really well spoken. I saw how the novel was heavily inspired by his real life. It was just too bad that I didn't gel with it like I wanted to. Other books that I'm mentioning are The Buffalo Hunter Hunter, The Ministry of Time, and A Certain Hunger. And these last three were all DNFs, by the way. Couldn't get into them. Favorite book couple of the year, Sybil and Rory from The Night and the Moth. I love this book entirely. These two had me a mess. I loved them as individuals and as a couple. Their romance was deliciously slow burn, full of tension. I love how they interacted. I love their back and forth. I love that he didn't really see eye to eye at the beginning, but I loved seeing them slowly trust each other and fall in love and care for each other. And it was just so sweet how they let their vulnerabilities show. I also love a knight, so I just loved Rory, and I love the dynamic between Rory and Sybil. My favorite main characters have got to go to Blue Sergeant, Richard Gangsey, Ronan Lynch, and Noah Cerny. They are the main characters of the Raven Cycle series, and this is a book that I reread time and time again. I reread it again this year. Not only do I love being in this world, sleepy, magical town of Henrietta, Virginia, but I just love being back with these characters who feel like a family. I just love them so much. Next question is a book that surprised you, and I'm gonna give that title to Some Strange Music Draws Me In. And even the way that this book caught my attention is quite surprising and unexpected. It was during one of Leah's bookshelf tours, Lover of Pages, here on YouTube. She specifically held up this edition, the UK paperback. The US edition of this book, by the way, atrocious. Disgusting. Anyways, Leah held this book up. She hadn't even read it, but the cover alone was enough for me to be like, okay, what is this book about? I looked it up on Goodreads. I put it on my want to read. I read this in May. I absolutely loved it. This book follows our narrator, a trans man, as he's looking back at his childhood in the 80s when he was a young girl. The summer that he's reminiscent about is actually one that was quite transformative for him, and it changed everything for him. It was a summer that he started thinking who he wanted to be, who he was, and about his relationship with his body and how he felt in it. And it is also during that summer this older trans girl comes into town. The two strike a friendship, a type of mentorship. The town doesn't like that, quite honestly, and the town turns against them both. This was absolutely phenomenal, and I had absolutely no expectations coming into it because I hadn't heard anybody talk about this book. None of my friends on Goodreads have even read this book. Next question is new favorite author you discovered this year. And I have two favorite new authors that I love their books by this year. The first one being Rachel Gilling, of course. I read 3 books by her this year. She's definitely the reason why I continue to get into romantasy and into the fantasy genre in particular. I just love her dark gothic fantasy worlds, her strong and lovable characters, and I love her perfect mix of plot and political intrigue with the most beautiful, delicious, slow burn romance ever. Her romance just never feels rushed, and I love the yearning that she puts into her writing as well. And it's just so sweet to see that slow build up between both characters until they're like, oh fuck, I'm in love with them. Another author that I really enjoyed discovering this year was Emily St. John Mandel. I read 2 books by her this year. She writes speculative dystopian fiction. They're incredibly creative, captivating, and once I start reading them, I just can't put them down. Moving on to some statistics. The shortest book that I read this year was Walking Practice with 166 pages. And then the longest book that I read this year is one that I'm actually still reading, but I'm confident that I'm going to finish it before the end of the year, is The Shards with 588 pages. I'm actually almost 50% into the shards, and I am enjoying this immensely. It's very slow. It's more character driven than anything, but I really like the anticipation of it. It's like actually killing me, and I want to find out more. Like, I'm just as paranoid as our main character. Okay, now we're gonna talk about some favorite book covers of 2025, and I got a few because I love book covers. The first one is The Everlasting, and this is a book that I don't own, but I really want to. I absolutely love this cover. It's so beautiful. Another one that I really like this year is Enlin by Maria Reva. Really love this cover. Even the UK cover is really, really cute. Other covers I enjoyed looking at were this edition of The Heron Trumpet. This is the Modern Penguin Classics edition, and I just love it. It's like very whimsy, very cute. I also really liked this cover of Woodworm. The hardcover also feels really, really nice in your hands. Of course, I gotta mention Some Strange Music Draws Me In. This cover, the UK paperback, was the reason why I even bought it in the first place. I also really love the cover of Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. Love the blues and the greens in this cover as well. I think it's really, really stunning. I'm also mentioning the covers on The Calculation of Value. These are so stunning together. I love the greens. I love the colors. I love the pastels. Now, we're going into a book I haven't stopped thinking about, and I'm going to go for The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow. I rated this book 4 stars. The first 30% was a struggle for me to get into, so this really surprised me. It's been slowly growing on me more and more and more lately. I've been thinking about it nonstop this past couple of weeks, and whenever I think about Owen and Una, my heart constricts and it just hurts like hell, but it's like a good hurt. A friend of mine also recently read this and she really loved it. We sent memes, we sent songs that reminded us of Una and Owen and their epic love stories. So I think ever since then, I've been even thinking about it even more. And this next one is Unpopular Book That You'll Love. My answer for this prompt kind of surprised me because this is a book that I read at the very beginning of the year, but it makes a lot of sense. And it is Milkman by Anna Burns. This has over 70,000 ratings on Goodreads with only a 3.53 star average. So I will say that Milkman is quite unpopular, and the reason why a lot of people didn't like this book is the reason why I did. And it is the narration style, which is a very suffocating stream of consciousness style. But when that narration style is done right and I love the characters, I immediately love the book. This book follows a young girl amidst the Irish troubles, and it narrates her worries during that time. She has regular teenage worries like her boyfriend, but she's also in the midst of war. So we do get a glimpse of that war through her eyes. A really quirky thing that our MC does is that she reads while walking, and eventually that reading while walking is such a peculiar sight to people around her that they start thinking that she's an informer. If I could read while walk, I would do so all the time. The writing in this one is dense. You are completely in this girl's head. She starts talking about one thing and then she'll derail and talk about another thing before going back to her original point, kind of like how we think, honestly. And I really did commend the writer for achieving that in her own writing. The book is like this, guys. It's like this. Yeah. Every page is like that. There's no page breaks, there's no chapters, but I loved it. I absolutely did. I loved getting lost in her thoughts. And I thought that her inner world was just as interesting as the world around her. Yeah, I really did enjoy Milkman. It took me a little bit to read, but I really did enjoy it. All right, so we have some more statistics for our next question. And I know that we love stats in here. Next question is lowest and highest rated on Goodreads, and do you agree? So the lowest rated is Bochica with a 3.08 star average on Goodreads with only 1,000 readers. I think this book went under a lot of people's radar. I read this one during summer week and I thought it was a pretty straightforward horror. It was nothing out of this world, but the plot does feature a haunted house and it's inspired by a Colombian myth, which I thought was really, really cool. But I ultimately agree with the star rating. I myself gave it a 3-star rating. My highest rated book on Goodreads is one that I was really, really happy to see. It is Some Strange Music Draws Me In, and I agree. This has a 4.40 average rating on Goodreads. This also has only about 1,000 readers, but people who read this book usually gave it a 4 or 5-star rating. So if you needed another reason to read this book, people who read this book usually end up loving it. So pick this up. Did I say that I agree with that rating? Because I agree. I give it a 5-star. Next question is book with the most unique concept, One Dark Window by Rachel Gilling. This is by far the most unique fantasy that I have read. It's based around card magic, and it is those cards that grant the user magic. But the more you use those cards, the more the magic works against you. There's also a fog and a dark magical forest surrounding the town of this book. That same fog gives people who are exposed to it a sickness, and that sickness grants you a power, but it's not a magical power that you usually want. If the sickness didn't kill you, that magical powers usually will do later down the road. Like that power that you get through the fog is quite degenerative. Really cool concept. I really enjoyed this novel and the rest of the Shepherd King duology. Next question is a book that you would reread. And seeing as how I just talked about how much I've been thinking about this book lately, I'm gonna give it to The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow. This is definitely a book that I've been itching to reread. I also really want to get my hands on a copy. I'm not usually a special edition type of girl, but like if you guys know of any book box that's gonna put out a special edition of this book, please let me know. My original copy was actually an e-arc, which I am so thankful for. If you haven't heard, The Everlasting is a stunning doomed lovers who find each other in every lifetime type of romance. It follows a history scholar and the very same subject that he has studied for years, the hero and lady knight Una Everlasting. Guys, this book will like rip your hearts to shreds. It would devastate you. I cried. I didn't think I would cry, but I cried. So I definitely recommend this if you want a good sob, if you love yearning, if you love medieval fantasy, if you love knights, pick this up. So that is it for the reading wrap up portion of the video. Very, very fun to come up with the answers for these questions and to remember certain books that I've forgotten that I read, gush about other books that I really love. Love being a hater, so I love shitting on some books. I'm really sorry to say I am. Now, the next questions are more reading goal focused, and I want to talk about my content plans for the next year. My number goal for the next year is 75 books. This is the same number goal that I had in 2025, and this is a number that is a little bit challenging but not too much. For example, I hit my goal of 75 books in November, so about 2 months left of the year. So if I fall into a reading slump, which I hope I don't, trying to find wood, I can't find it, but I'm gonna knock on it later. If I fall into a reading slump or I read a little bit less some months, I wouldn't be too stressed about it. I don't really want to be stressed about my reading. 75 is perfect. It's challenging but not too much. My next goal, and this is kind of like number goal related as well, is out of those 75 books, I want to read at least 5 of those in Spanish. I am a native Spanish speaker, you guys didn't know, and I haven't really been reading in Spanish lately. For example, for 2025, I had a goal to read 10 books in Spanish. I think I read 1, maybe 2. So I'm lowering my goal for the next year, something a little bit more attainable than my last reading goal. And this one is a lot more fun. I basically want to participate in a year-long reading challenge. I think I've narrowed down my choices. I'm definitely participating and keeping up with the Buzzword Readathon from Books and Lala. I've heard about this challenge before and I really want to try my hand at it in 2026. I'm doing both the title and cover challenges. I really picked out the books I'm going to be reading for the January prompts and I'm so excited. And then Bay Reads here on YouTube created a really fun looking bingo board challenge for the next year, the Reading Gauntlet, and it's a lot more fantasy focused. And because I really want to continue reading fantasy in the next year, I decided to try my hand at this reading challenge. Other challenges that I'm keeping an eye out and I just don't know if I'm gonna fully commit into them is the R Fantasy Bingo Board. This one is from April 2026 until April 2027. And then I also want to try my hand at the 75 booked challenge. Honed in my rules for the challenge and what I want to accomplish. I'm actually going to be starting that in January and I'm really, really excited to create content around it and just to I just want to read more in the new year. This next goal is not exactly bookish per se, but I'm pretty sure that it'll help me read more, and it is to create phone-free weekends. I basically want to forget that my phone exists in 2026. I am sick and tired of scrolling on my phone, sitting my ass on the couch with my book and then picking up my phone instead. What is that? An hour that I could be reading on my phone. I'm not watching something educational. I'm not watching a show. I'm not watching a long form YouTube vlog. I'm not watching something that will aid me in any way. It really is doom scrolling because not only am I getting, oh, a cute cat picture, but I'm also getting the worst political news ever. And it's great to be, in tune. I'm not saying that I want to be ignorant in the next year and that I don't want to know what the fuck's going on. Constantly going through highs and lows in a span of 5 minutes is not doing anything for me. So I really want to create a phone-free weekend. I want to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I want to more intentionally be present in my life. And eventually I want to expand this into not only the weekends, but the rest of my fucking life. And now on for my content plans for the new year. This first goal of mine will help me keep up with all that there is to do with YouTube. I am so inconsistent is the word I was looking for with my editing. Like, I get it done at the end of the day. I really do. And I do get a weekly video up every single Saturday. But I want to be a lot more stress-free about that. I want to create an editing schedule. Basically, I want to think of editing as a part-time job and not something that I put off until the last minute in favor of doom scrolling yet again. I've been kind of practicing this in the last couple of weeks from 9 until 12. Usually I get a lot of things done in those 3 hours and I don't need to edit anymore. And then I'm free to do whatever else I need to do. Before, I would sit down, right, with the purpose of editing, but I would get distracted. But like actually like setting myself a schedule and seeing it on my planner that from 9 to 12, I gotta edit has really helped me focus. So in the next year, I wanna continue doing that. I wanna continue building an editing schedule so that when the weekends come around, I don't need to do any editing because I'm caught up. My next goal for 2026 is one that I'm really, really excited for, and it is to vlog more consistently. I love creating vlogs, and I think I really do a lot of them, but in the next year I want to like start a vlog, finish it, and then go on and immediately start the next vlog. I want you guys to have more, not only a look into what I'm reading, but I look into my everyday life, maybe a little bit of my routine, maybe a little bit more of my day-to-day. I don't know. You guys let me know if you guys are interested in that. I'm definitely going to keep it reading focused. I also want to challenge myself to weekly vlog because I want to challenge myself to be a little bit more creative with my vlogs. Basically, I want to find new filming angles in my apartment. I want to get out of the house more. Sometimes I'm in my apartment all the time because I'm filming a vlog, but I can leave my house and do something else and put it in the vlog. And just overall read more. I think if I'm constantly vlogging, I'll be reading more because I need to read to make the vlog. In the next year, I'm gonna be consistently vlogging. I hope that this brings you guys a look into what I'm reading, a more real-time updated look at what I'm reading, especially because I'm not doing any reading wrap-ups. And that brings me to my next goal, which is no reading wrap-ups or TBRs in the next year. It was during the summer that I experimented with this and I stopped making reading wrap-ups and monthly TBRs. I'm not gonna lie, guys, I don't watch any reading wrap-ups on YouTube. I know there's such a core like video for YouTubers to do, but I don't watch them. And I already hate making them. I hate scripting those videos because I can't sit down and like, okay guys, this book was blah, 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 and I thought blah, 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 blah about the book because I will forget what I want to say. So I need to sit down beforehand and script, basically write a review. And that way the book is fresh in my mind. And if I forget what I want to say, I can like have it handy. But I hate that entire process. I hate filming them. And I also thought them so repetitive because a lot of the books that I was talking about in my reading wrap-ups are books that you already saw in vlogs and that I reviewed quite recently in vlogs. I've been a lot happier not making content that I don't like to do. So they're not coming back. I am so sorry, but I hope that the weekly vlogs will like give you a more insight look at the books that I'm reading. You won't miss a thing. If I'm weekly vlogging, you won't miss a book because I'll be reading them all with you guys. And then same thing with monthly TBRs. I loved doing them. They were really, really fun. I love taking out a prompt and then correlating with a book. But what happened was that I started getting really pressured about these books that I was literally picking out 8 books in a video and promising you and myself that I was going to read them in a month while also trying to mood read. So I gave up. I said, I'm not going to do them anymore because I don't read the books that I picked out. And at my core, I am a mood reader. I've been having so much fun with my reading, not having any TBRs. You know, sometimes I do like say like, oh, I want to read this book next week, but it's still within my mood. So if next week comes around and I don't want to read that anymore, I push it. I really love not making a monthly TBR. I do, however, miss the prompts, so I think I will use the prompts for a reading vlog every now and then. I think that'll be really, really fun. So that is it for this video. That is it for Bookmas. Oh my god, I can't believe it's over. Every single year, it just goes by so quickly, but you know what? It was fun. I will do it again. Please let me know how your year went. How did you feel about the books that you read? What about your favorite books of 2025? Feel free to answer any of the questions that I answered in this vlog in the comments. I'll love to know how your own reading went. But if you don't want to share, that's totally fine. just leave down a book emoji so that I know that you watched until the very end. That is it for this vlog. That's it for the year. I will see you guys in 2026. I'm so excited to see you then. Bye.